Hello and welcome to the Asylum, the month of Dismember. I'm your host, Don, and with me today is Jeremiah.
And we are talking about a film that'll give you the exact reason why my books going in the public domain should not happen. We are talking about 2010's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes by The Asylum, which was mockbusting Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes, both of which exist purely because of the public domain, as well as like the dozens of other Sherlock Holmes movies that have happened since. And I'm pretty sure I can to steal a quote from my own review of the Paul W. Sanderson Three Musketeers movie. Conan Doyle might recognize some parts of this, but he'd probably die watching it.
Wait, which Three Musketeers was that?
The one with airships and Orlando Bloom being awesome.
I disagree with that assertion. I disagree. So, if Alexander Dumas were alive today and he saw the Orlando Bloom Three Musketeers movie, he would have loved it. That man...
He might not have recognized it as his Three Musketeers, though.
That man was the cutting edge of what is now Pulp Fiction. He created it. So, like, you throw ridiculous, over-the-top...
Airship. Fashion advice.
Yeah, like, that is what Alexander Dumas would have loved. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's feelings on Sherlock Holmes, on the other hand...
So I will say this to start with. So yes, we're talking about 2010 Sherlock Holmes. Not just because one of the actors in this one is from Doctor Who, but this is more of an episode of Doctor Who than some episodes of Doctor Who are. In fact, there is an episode of Doctor Who similar to this one with a T-Rex in London on the same bridge, but looks significantly better than this movie. And Doctor Who is made for TV and is made to be cheesy.
Was it a T-Rex though? Because it was like a raptor size.
It as with all things in the asylum, things grow and shrink depending on the situation. But this had the same budget of a Doctor Who episode. But Doctor Who has things called, competent cinematographers.
Yeah, the cinematography was definitely not great.
But this movie, the weird interesting about this movie is it has 4 producers somehow. It stars the lead star as Watson is Gareth David-Lloyd, who people know from Doctor Who, where he's Yonto, Torchwood. He's also in Dragon Age. He's Solas, literally the most important character in the series right now. He's well loved. It also has Dominic Keating, who you would know as Lieutenant Reed from Star Trek Enterprise. And it introduces Ben Syder as the most important character in the movie, being Sherlock Holmes, and he's pretty dang toxic.
Yeah, he's the worst. Like, I don't understand how... he's pretty bad.
But the director of this movie doesn't do a lot of stuff for the Asylum. They did Grim Snow White after this one. They did apparently a movie that we're going to get to eventually, a kid princess movie called Princess and the Pony. And then they've done a couple of feature films like Valley Girl, which I think is a rom-com, and a movie called Unpregnant, which came out a few years ago, but has also done episodes that had lots of TV like Z Nation, Mindy Project, Minx most recently. So this person has not been really tainted by
the Asylum.
The Asylum got their start directing and producing lots of stuff for Funny or Die.
Oh, okay.
And then the writer, the writer has done Nazis at the Center of the Earth, 2010 Moby Dick, Sherlock Holmes, Megafault, 10 Million BC, The Da Vinci Treasure, Legion of the Dead, Killers 2, The Beast, Reasonable Doubt, Max Knight, Ultra Spy. They produced Max Knight Ultra Spy.
Max Knight.
They produced Zombies. They also are the reason why Battlestar Wars exists.
It's all right. That's quite, yeah, it's quite the accomplished list, I guess.
We're almost done with everything this guy has written. But Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them the plot of this movie, and then I will sit here and laugh.
Okay. So, aside from the fact that Syder is a terrible actor, he was by far the worst actor in this movie, even when compared to the robot woman who had no emotion. This guy was so bad. But aside from that,
this might be why he put robot woman with no emotion in Battlestar Wars, you know.
That's fair. But aside from that, the first two acts of this movie feels like a classic Sherlock Holmes movie. Like the Sherlock Holmes movies from the 50s. Like that's how it starts. That's how it feels at the beginning, right? Or 60s, not 50s. So it opens up and it's like old man Watson talking to shoot, what's the lady's name? The lady who owned 221 Baker Street. Their house lady.
Yeah. I just remember it starts off in the London Blitz.
Miss Hudson. So it starts with Watson, old man, still at 221 B Baker Street, being now taken care of by Ms. Hudson, which is obviously a relative, I think the daughter of Mrs. Hudson, who was their like house caretaker when they were young. Everybody knows who Mrs. Hudson is if you've seen anything Sherlock Holmes. So it starts off there during the London Blitz. And Watson's like, I feel like I'm going to die soon. So, and this is the second time I've seen something terrible like this happen to London. So, Miss Hudson, you can write, right? And she's like, I mean, I'm not really good at spelling, but yeah. And he's like, all right, don't worry about the spelling. I'm going to tell you a story. And she's like, is this one of your fantastical stories? And he's like, none of my stories are fantastical. But this is the story about Sherlock Holmes. And he didn't want me to tell anybody about it because of his emotional investment into it. And you're like, yeah, all right.
Yet there's no possible way that no one would have remembered this one because of what they set fire to.
Everything. So we then flash back to Sherlock Holmes times. And Watson is working as a coroner now. And Sherlock rolls in there and is super toxic and makes Watson look stupid. Sorry. Before that happened, a sea monster attacked.
Kraken music.
A sea monster
wishes they had the Kraken from Dead Man's Chest. They wish they had that. They don't. They have tentacles.
Which doesn't even make sense because they never explain it. But whatever.
And not even Bermuda tentacles. Just a giant octopus sinks this treasury ship.
Yeah, so it sinks the treasury ship. And so Sherlock has been asked to go and investigate this, which is outside of like London's jurisdiction. But nonetheless, Detective Lestrade, who works for Scotland Yard in London, is there, which makes absolutely no sense if you know anything about anything that has to do with the way police precincts work. Especially in London. Like,
I'll be right back. Continue telling the story. Be right back.
London is so, like, butt pucker about jurisdiction that there are two separate jurisdictions within London that hate each other. So the idea that Lestrade from London's jurisdiction would be out in the middle of nowhere investigating this event is just no. But whatever, it's the asylum. They don't do the research. So they go to investigate. There was one survivor. He tells them they were attacked by a monster for absolutely no reason. Sherlock sends Watson over the side of a cliff with frayed rope to look at the boat to get an idea of what was going on with the boat. Yeah. So that's what happens there. They go back to London. Sherlock's like, "What makes you so sure it's not a monster?" Like the most logical man in the world is just like, "Oh yeah, it could totally be a monster." So while they're back in London, we get like a completely disconnected thing. I'm fairly certain that some young man hired a lady who had a penis to show him her penis and then was attacked by the raptor T-Rex thing for literally no reason. But that happened. So then they go to investigate this raptor dinosaur monster attack. And initially, they don't call it a dinosaur. Initially, they're just like, oh, it's a monster. But then at some point, they just start referring to it as a dinosaur. There's no conversation about it. It's just all of a sudden it's a dinosaur. And Sherlock finds like a piece of rubber and does some or he finds a piece of the skin and does some analysis of it. And it turns out that it's rubber that's made from a very specific rubber plant in London. But I forgot to mention this. Lestrade randomly mentions to Sherlock that he got contacted by his brother, not Mycroft, by the way.
And not Enola Holmes, not the one that Netflix created.
No, some other random dude. I think his name was Thomas. I'm not really sure. It was T Holmes. Thorpe. Yeah, that's right. Thorpe Holmes. So Thorpe contacted Lestrade, and that's like
because he was a former partner of Lestrade,
which we don't find out
in the police force.
In the police force, which no,
because Sherlock Holmes, the genius, clearly would not know this,
Yeah. So, yeah. So they go to investigate the rubber. While they're investigating the rubber, the dude who made the rubber gets attacked by the dinosaur, and then gets his face slammed into a window, which causes his head to explode, and then the building explodes, and his body flies out the window in what can only be defined as grade A Asylum CGI.
I have to say this also. Grade A Asylum writing when someone literally says the dinosaur stole a water pump. The dinosaur steals a water pump as well as copper wire. And they go, oh, look, they're going to create another dinosaur.
With a water pump and copper wire.
How do you get that deduction? Also, somehow the octopus is also linked to the dinosaur because giant octopuses exist. Dinosaurs in London do not. And the reason why they say they're related is because they're similarly, exceptionally improbable.
That was Sherlock's explanation. So this is the point.
Exceptionally improbable.
This is the point where this starts to veer from feeling like a classic Sherlock Holmes mystery where something crazy happens and he's investigating it, because he did with like Ghosts and the Hounds, the Baskerville, all that. So like, he's investigating this thing. Cool. It's going to be some like logical explanation, and then it just like goes straight off the rails.
This is where it would have been if it had levity. It would have been a Doctor Who episode, quite literally, and except there being an actual dinosaur and so on. This would be a Doctor Who episode, and it would fit really well. It would fit on shows like Primeval. It would fit on shows like Timeless. Tons of these shows. But they actually have things called levity.
Yeah, they took it too serious by far.
And this one, they take it totally seriously.
Yeah.
And they find a mechanical dude that looks straight out of Doctor Who.
String
heel to check.
In my opinion, that mechanical dude looked like Princess Leia at the opening to Star Wars Episode 6. Tell me I'm wrong.
Except for the fact that Princess Leia looked female.
Not important.
And then they reveal that the villain the whole time has been, you have been Sherlock Holmes' brother this entire time, and he kidnapped Lestrade somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
And this guy assumed the identity of Watson's patient this time.
Which Watson didn't realize it wasn't his patient. B, didn't realize it was Sherlock's brother. And C, prescribed him steroids, which he then uses said steroids to build a mechanical body for himself that he can operate with his mind. And
now seeing his female accomplice, her Wikipedia and IMDb spell her name two different ways in the same article. It's either Inesidora, Inesidora, Ivory, or Anesidora, Anesidora, Ivory. They don't really care, apparently.
Well, there's also, like, early on, the dude who survived the giant squid attack, he is both referred to as Mr. Giles and Mr. Giles in the same movie.
Also, this woman has a bomb inside of her.
Yeah, because she's not a woman, she's a robot. So, like, that actually really gave me strong Great Mouse Detective feels. When yes. It's like, open her back and it's all the clockwork and stuff. Like, Great Mouse Detective, I love it.
But it also means he refers to her as his lover, so he makes love to a robot?
He kisses her. We see it happen.
I know, but he says lover, which means like, yeah. What? And there's a bomb inside her the whole time. I know Dragon Ball Z, there's bombs inside those, but he didn't do that to anything to her until that bomb was gone.
It's true. I think that she may have been like his girlfriend thing that he built a body for, like his own, but it didn't work the same to where like she's a robot instead. I think that's what they were going for, but they just didn't.
Also straight out of Torchwood.
And then out of nowhere, not Mycroft has a giant robotic
a dragon. I thought I saw a dragon, a fire-breathing monster doing, and not Pete's dragon.
Just has a dragon out of nowhere.
And he can pilot it.
Oh, he starts calling Sherlock Robert out of literally nowhere. Just all like, I feel like they just forgot that his name was Sherlock for a little bit. And they're like, Robert? Yeah, let's go with that. And so he just calls him Robert for no reason out of nowhere, which we get an explanation for toward the end. Yeah, so then not Mycroft is flying a giant dragon that he's going to use to destroy Big Ben?
Well, he's the Parliament building in Westminster Abbey.
Thank you.
And Ivory, the lady, is sent to kill the Queen.
Yes.
Watson sent to stop her. And then Holmes finds another flying machine to stop his brother's dragon?
Out of nowhere. He has a hot air balloon that has propellers on the top and bottom that he somehow knows already when he jumps into it how to fly it to chase the dragon.
And I'd be more okay with that flying machine than a dragon. But then that dragon sets fire to the Parliament building and Westminster Abbey. And of course, this is an event that no one remembers. A secret event. Secret mystery where they set fire to two of the most important buildings in London. And the Queen, when they were trying to assassinate the Queen, and there was a dragon flying around London and no one remembers it?
Nobody.
And the dragon crashes into the palace grounds?
Nobody remembers it. And somehow, he was going to blame this all on Lestrade. Not sure how, but he was planning on blaming it all on Detective Lestrade. And then he gets shot in the back. And then
Holmes shoots Holmes shoots his brother, and then proves that Lestrade was not the one responsible for Thorpe's crippling, as if that really mattered.
Yeah, I did.
And then Lestrade takes credit for saving the Queen, and then they vow to never speak of these events again, even though clearly people saw it.
And we're speaking of it now.
And then Watson dies in modern times, and then Ivory, the robot lady's still around and visits the grave of, where's Mycroft this entire time? Because Mycroft works for the government and he would most definitely show up if there was a dragon.
Absolutely. I think they just decided Mycroft didn't exist.
And he'd probably know that his brother appeared again because Mycroft is that person who would be spying on him.
Yeah, fact. So, yeah, like I said, it starts out and it feels very much like a classic Sherlock Holmes movie, and then it just goes completely off the rails. Just lost track of like any rails whatsoever. It's like that scene in the House on Haunted Hill where they're on the roller coaster and like the roller coaster ahead of them just literally flies off the side of the roller coaster. That's what this movie did. Um, up until the point of the guy's head exploding against the window, I was pretty engaged, and I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying this." And then after that, I'm just like, "Oh my god!"
But I will say this: as far as acting goes, the two main leads that are not Syder, they do fine. They actually do pretty good. They do well enough as Watson and Thorpe.
But their main character was terrible. He was badly acted and badly written. It was just bad.
Like this movie is actually in a book about Sherlock Holmes on screen, which they go over all the different Sherlock Holmes movies. And there is an actual chapter or section about this movie in there that had to be written into there. And there are some bad Sherlock Holmes movies. There are a lot of bad Sherlock Holmes movies.
I mean, when you have that many, like it's just like there's a lot of really bad Dracula movies out there.
They should have just called this Sherlock Holmes versus dinosaurs. It would have been a better name.
They should have called it Sherlock Holmes versus dinosaurs and then put some levity into it, and it actually would have been a acceptable film. Like if this movie had like purposeful comedy in it, this would be a movie I would recommend to people. Like if this movie was a comedic, if this was like the first Casino Royale James Bond movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for sure,
in the 60s with like 5 Bonds. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if this had been that, I would have accepted it and I would have had no issues with it. But like they just like disregarded everything about Sherlock Holmes's character, like his history and all that, with the exception of the fact that he works with Watson. Like that's the only thing. And Lestrade. They kept those two things, and like that was it. Like, oh yeah, Sherlock has a brother, right? Yeah, what was his name? Thorpe. I think his name was Thorpe. I know it was something weird. Let's go with Thorpe. All right, yeah. So he's got a brother's name's Thorpe, and Thorpe. What did his brother do again? Well, he worked for the government. What did he do for the government? I think he was a cop. All right, Thorpe the cop. Let's go with it. Like that is what they must have been doing in the writing room when they were writing.
Because like when you think about it, like Sherlock Holmes, I know I'm going to miss a few of them, but if you think of Sherlock Holmes through time, Basil Rathbone has played him. Peter Cushing has played him. Robert Stevens has played him. I forget who played him in Young Sherlock Holmes, but Great Mouse Detective is a great take on him. You have Robert Downey Jr. has played him. Ian McKellen has played him. Henry Cavill's played him. I think Will Ferrell played him in Holmes and Watson, right?
Yeah, it was Will Ferrell.
Which is still a better movie than this, even though that movie is not good.
Absolute garbage. Didn't Christopher Lee play Sherlock?
He's no. As far as I know, no.
I feel like he did.
No, because Peter Cushing played him in that era.
Oh, maybe.
With Hound of Baskervilles and stuff. And this one's just not good. I'm okay for a bonkers movie, and I think I would have been okay with a bonkers movie if they had fully committed to how bonkers it is, rather than doing nonsense like no one knows about this story because no one ever had to repair the Parliament building.
Sherlock Holmes and the leading lady, Christopher Lee, plays Sherlock Holmes.
Nice. I don't know. As I said, there's a lot of people who play Sherlock Holmes.
Well, no, never mind. He played Mycroft.
Okay.
Oh,
he's a good Mycroft.
Yeah, he is a good Mycroft. At minimum, he's been connected to Sherlock Holmes at some point.
And like even Mycroft Holmes has had a ton of people play him. Sam Clayton, I think, is one who plays him in Enola Holmes. Stephen Fry's played him.
Stephen Fry.
Charles. Yeah, Stephen Fry is the one who plays him in the Guy Ritchie movies.
Oh yeah.
He's naked in one of the scenes, if I recall, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
But this movie isn't good.
It's not. It's not Battle Star Wars level bad.
Oh no. You can actually be entertained by this movie, being the fact that it's an hour and a half long.
Also true. This is probably down there. Oh man.
This is like watching Megafault.
Yeah, it's like watching
Bigfoot.
It's better than 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 13.
Well, that's so is having diarrhea.
That's fair. It's better than Battlestar Wars. But other than that, I would rather watch the War of the Worlds movies again than watch this. Like, it's just not great. There we go. Sir Arthur
Yep.
Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. The T-Rex is never that big. Just putting that out.
And the octopus does not attack that.
But other than that, this is actually a fairly accurate poster for a.
It's higher quality than anything shot in the movie.
Also true.
That looks like the movie.
Yeah, it's the movie right there. It's beautiful. I don't know what they were doing there. Oh, there they are just talking. And Sherlock being crappy. That's a robot
photo.
That's a robot lady. That's a robot lady again. Where did these photos come from?
Why did they do publicity shots for this movie?
Why? That was not Mycroft, by the way. With the robot.
I find it funny that every other shot that we had so far, Holmes looks bigger than Watson, and then finally they're like, yeah, it's the real height.
Yeah, here's the actually are.
And if I recall right, he didn't really wear hats in this movie, right?
He did not. He did not wear
his jacket.
He did smoke a pipe though.
But did he have a violin?
He did not.
And they didn't talk about his cocaine habit.
No.
That might have made the movie better. The whole reason they were dinosaurs is because he was on cocaine, that would have made this movie better.
There was like a thing where they talked about giving him opioids and him being like, no, I need to keep my wits about me. And I think that
is not what he does.
Yeah, it's not.
Like if this whole thing was a cocaine trip for him, that would have been hilarious.
Isn't that season 3 or 4 of Sherlock? 4, yeah. Look at that gun. This looks like it's out of Wild Wild West.
It does, actually. Yeah. They would fit in Wild Wild West, and then their heads would be cut off.
Publicity shots for this. I don't understand.
But look at the thing behind it. It looks like a sheet.
Yeah.
You see wrinkles. You see wrinkles in the sheet behind them. What? Oh, that must be Russian.
What?
There's 2 T-Rexes now, and a ton of pterodons?
Yeah, that looks like pterodons. Why?
And a spider web up here somewhere.
All right.
That looks like a better movie than we got.
That does look like it. I would watch that last one, the Russian version. I'd watch for sure.
Well, speaking of watching, we do know what we're watching next week because it's Christmas. I was trying to get my kids to watch it with me today, but they kept on trying to kill each other, so we didn't. The movie is G-rated, so there won't be any lesbians as far as we know.
Well, there probably will be.
Well, it also stars Kevin Sorbo, so there probably will not be lesbians.
I mean, who could be a lesbian around Kevin Sorbo?
And then David DeLuise is in there. It's called Alone for Christmas, or the superior title overseas, Bone Alone. A 2013 comedy film, a loose mockbuster of the hit film series Home Alone, directed by Joseph J. Lawson.
Bone Alone.
And it's about family visiting grandma's house on Christmas Eve to leave their dog at home, and 3 thieves try to take the presents from under the Christmas tree. The dog must use all his tricks to stop them.
I'm very much looking forward to this. This is high on my list of movies that I want to see. Next, I'm really, really hoping for Amityville Haunting. That is the one that I want to see the most.
Over Bone Alone?
No, after Bone Alone. Bone Alone, I'm very excited about watching Bone Alone.
Why did they call it Alone for Christmas instead of Bone Alone? Come on, Bone Alone is just...
That's just a lost opportunity. That's a fantastic... It's a great pun. It's a just rolls off your tongue. We'll probably name it Bone Alone when we post it. I think that's just a better way to go. We'll get a lot more views then. All right. Well, that I think we're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Bye.